Hey, it's Kim Dello here, and this week I have a new process video for you for the making of an art journal page, and it's all the way from start to finish. Now, sorry if you've been missing my videos. I've had a little bit of a break from YouTube, but I'm back and I hope you enjoy this new video. So this project today, I'm calling it Easy Shapes, now mainly because I'm absolutely rubbish at coming up with titles, and secondly because, well, it's all about some easy shapes. So what I've done is I've cut out some shapes just randomly from designer pattern paper, and I've used those as the basis for this whole page. Now the page was completely organic, so I had no idea before I started how it was going to turn out. So it all just grew as I went along. I don't know how you do your journal pages, but sometimes with my journal pages, sometimes it will just be completely organic. I won't have an idea in my head, but more often than not, I will actually have an end point that I'm aiming towards. Now, I know this isn't quite the way people like to do art journal pages, but often I'm doing it to a very quick deadline. And that's why sometimes having a plan in my head is just a little bit easier. Now for this one, no plan, just completely off spec. I'm actually working on 3 or 4 pages all at the same time, but I'm just showing you one here and I'll show you the rest at another time. Now I do this when I'm trying to be more organic, trying to let the page grow on its own. And that way I can chop and change, and when I'm waiting for something to dry on one page, I can move to another page. Or if I've got a bit of paint that I want to get rid of, I can just put it on one of the pages and let it do what it wants to do. For me, working on a few pages all at the same time means that I'm actually cutting down on my thinking time, because I am a terrible overthinker. I will overthink everything, and I mean everything. So working on several pages at once just means that I can cut all of that out, stop overthinking it and just do it. So I can be working on one page, and then if that gets to a natural finish, I can put it to one side and work on another page. So if I'm stuck at any point and I'm not sure where to take the page, something usually comes up by working on a completely different page. So if you're an overthinker too, that's well worth trying out. For this kind of art journal work, I usually use my junk journals, and that's what I'm using today. This is one of my junk journals, and if you want to know more about those, I have a video with a walkthrough of those, so check that out. And the link is in the top right hand corner for you. You can kind of see that I'm slightly cheating here because I couldn't be bothered to get a palette to put the paints on. So I'm actually using the other page in my junk journal, and as it's just a blank page anyway, it's just got paint on it, it won't really matter. So in a way, I'm working on this page as well, because I'm just adding a bottom layer, a background layer of colour to it. So as the page developed, I decided that I actually wanted to re-emphasise those lovely paper shapes that I'd cut out in the first place. So I'm just using paint now to make those stand out a little bit more, and I'm just applying it with my finger and also adding a little bit of water with the spray bottle just to help the paint move around a bit more. Now, the paint I'm using, the colours are quite translucent, so you also get the original shapes and designs on the paper itself coming through too, which is lovely. Well, the brilliant yellow green and the cadmium yellow medium hue, they're both translucents, so you will see the patterns coming through there. But when I use the cadmium red medium hue and the medium magenta that I'm using, now they're both opaque, so they will cover up the pattern underneath. But that kind of adds to the texture, so I've got some parts where the pattern paper is showing through and some parts where it isn't. I'm still using my finger here to apply the paint, just because it was just more immediate than using a paintbrush. And of course you can use a paintbrush if you want. It's actually a lot easier than you would think to keep the finger painting to very small areas. I wasn't really sure whether that would work, but it did. It was absolutely fine. And if there was overspill of paint into areas I didn't want it to be, I would just wipe it off immediately before it had a chance to dry. I'd finished with my palette, so I just spread out the excess paint over that page, and I'll use the page for something else at some other point. Background was just a little bit too grey for my liking, so I decided to then just go over it with white paint, and this will further emphasise those shapes. colours just to pop just a little bit more. So this is when I started to bring in the NeoColor crayons, just to add that extra intensity of colour on these shapes. And the beauty of these crayons is that I could also use them to just add a little bit of shading and a little bit of light and dark on the shapes itself as well. This is as far as I'm going to go with this art journal page at the moment. It's finished, but there's a possibility that I might come in at a later date and add to it. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But you can kind of see the texture coming through from the paint on the background that I was working on, and the texture from the papers as well. And the colours, they just add a nice, interesting, abstract look to this whole page. So thank you very much for watching my video, and if you liked it, please do give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not a subscriber already to my channel. I'll be back to share some of the other journal pages that I was working on at the same time as working on this one, and they're quite different, so keep your eye out for those. In the meantime, if you've got any questions, want to ask me anything, or, you know, just whatever, want to reach out, I would love to hear from you, so drop me a line below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.